Hey, my friends, this is The Art of Prepping. Hope you guys are doing great today. So if you own a deep freezer, what do you do during a power outage to try to save your food, to keep it frozen as long as possible? And so I've come up with a few ideas that I wanted to share with you. And so the first is a fully stocked freezer stays frozen longer than a partially stocked freezer. And so an average time frame for a fully stocked freezer before it starts to thaw out is about 48 to 72 hours. It just depends on the make and model. But this is in contrast, though, to a half full freezer. They typically start to thaw out at about 24 hours or even sooner. Now, number two here is that if you have the opportunity to turn up the freezer before a storm system or any other type of threat enters your area, this is going to really buy you time. And so by keeping your food colder, you can actually extend the time frame that it can stay frozen without power. And number three here is that you could store ice in the freezer. And the way I do it, I put it in layers. And you can use like 2-liter bottles, you can use bags of ice, whatever you desire. But by having ice in there, it creates a cold sink and it just extends the freeze time of your foods. Number four, you can use a bag of ice cubes as an indicator of contents thawing. So if you're on vacation and you come back home, if your ice cubes have turned into a solid block of ice, then you know that the ice cubes at some point melted and then it refroze when the power came back on. Number five, the bottom of the freezer is the coldest point or place in the freezer. So this is probably where you would want to keep your most valuable products in the freezers, especially your meats. And so this is really more like Science 101, that heat rises and cold sinks. Number six, because items on the top are most likely to thaw out first, you'd want to store easy to consume foods on top, such as like your ice cream, your frozen yogurts, your popsicles, and so forth. Number seven, keep the freezer door shut during a power outage. When you open the door, it lets cold out and heat in. And even though you might, feel like you need to check it every hour, try to resist that. Number eight, you can insulate the freezer to extend the freeze time of your foods. If all you have is just blankets off your bed, use those. But it actually is even better if you have reflective materials such as aluminum foil. You can use mylar foil, and that's typically found like in space blankets or in sportsman emergency blankets. Number 9, you can add ice to the freezer to extend freeze times. So if you can run up to the grocery store or at a dollar store or whoever in your area sells bags of ice, you could put that in there, and that's going to really help it until they get the power back on. Number 10, don't take a chance with your meats when the temperatures get over 40 degrees. There's all kinds of problems that can happen. You can get sick off the food. A lot of people say if it's over 40 degrees, go ahead and just get rid of it. It's not worth getting sick over. Number 11, you can get or just purchase, I don't have one of these, but they do kind of sound pretty interesting. It's called a freezer alarm. And so when temperatures get above freezing, an alarm goes off to alert you that, well, in a short period of time, your food may not be safe to consume, or at least things are thawing out. Number 12, keep a thermometer handy. Once again, you don't want to be opening the door on a regular basis to check the foods, but maybe like a few times during the day, you might just quickly open or crack the door and peek in it and see what the thermometer says and see if you're still within a safe zone. Number 13 is to use the coin technique. And this is pretty interesting. It's kind of along the lines of using ice cubes in a bag as an indicator, but instead you have a small container and you put some water in that container. And what you do is you freeze that. And then on top of the ice in that container, you put a coin. And you just add a little more water on top of that coin, and then you put it back into the freezer and freeze that. And what you have is basically another type of indicator that can show you if things are starting to thaw out. Because if the coin, at least if you find the coin at the bottom of the container, then you know that things are really thawing out pretty fast. And so that's just to kind of give you a means to kind of visually see that, the ice is melting very quickly. And lastly, number 15, and this one right here can solve a lot of problems, but believe it or not, a lot of people just don't have any of these options, and that is to generate your own power. And that could be a gas generator or another means. It could be a solar power generator, but right there, it could be a very simple solution. But there's a lot of people who don't have that opportunity to own, or doesn't have really like an option to own one of those because they may live in an apartment or condo and there's just nowhere to store a gas generator. But it could come in very handy. All you got to do is just plug in your appliances and you're good to go. So if you own a deep freezer and you kind of wondered about what you should do during a power outage, I hope these things will help you. Even if only a few of these will help you, it may save you a lot of time and money. I know for a lot of people, they have a lot of money tied up in food in their deep freezer, and they don't want any of it to go to waste. And so thanks for supporting the channel. And I really do appreciate your comments. Share the video if you like the video. Give it a thumbs up. Talk to you later.